Nomindari Enkhtur joins us now. And Nomindari, you gave us an inspirational talk earlier at the forum. You were talking about how to resist climate-related impacts, such as desertification, and your experience from Mongolia. You are the CEO of the Mongolian Nature's Legacy Foundation. What was your main message to the forum today?
Yes, first of all, it was really a pleasure to join the forum. This is the first time for me to join the discussion, this forum, and I think what I wanted to really pass through in terms of key message was that although Mongolia is very different, we're living on a different continent, a different context, we're only 3 million people with huge land, right? And many would imagine that environmental protection might be very easy. And although the agriculture sector also looks very different, where we depend a lot mostly on livestock, and there is not a lot of farming and other type of agriculture because of the climate situation, what the main message was that we are essentially facing the same challenges when it comes to climate, environmental degradation, biodiversity loss, and the solutions that we need to put forward are also very similar. So what we are working on in Mongolia, for example, in terms of creating integrated financing mechanisms where we really bundle up and blend in government funding with private funding, with philanthropic funding. It's the same here, right? That's exactly what we are needed, and especially in a situation where public funding is unfortunately also declining, right? Priorities are shifting. I think more and more of what we needed is jointly working to find those integrated ways where we, make sure that every penny, every dollar that we're spending is very efficiently used and leveraging other sources of funding. So that's what we're doing, and I hope that it was also, a key message to the forum.
You're a sustainable finance expert, so looking at, are you celebrating more of our commonality rather than more of our differences? I think that was one of the messages. And when you look at how we turn climate complexity into competitive advantage, I mean, that is a complicated story. What's your experience? How far are we along that road of progress?
I think the hard truth is that we are still very far away. Unfortunately, I think we started very late, but it's not too late. Still, action is really important. And I think it's also a little bit difficult when you have, we are not living in the easiest time, right? Right now with different situations with, moving from one crisis to another crisis. But I think what's the lesson to us is that as we move forward, we need to be even more resilient. So resiliency not in terms of, how we act in climate and environmental issues, but resiliency in terms of our policy direction, right? So even, I think in the future, we should expect more of different shocks, but that should not really change, I think, the main agenda, the climate and environmental agenda that we are pursuing. So definitely, it's not an easy task, but it could be done if we do it really in a stepped and a phased approach, yeah.
And the experience from Mongolia, because of course the nomadic way of life is under threat.
Yeah, it is. It's really a difficult situation. I think still in some countries there's a debate whether climate change is real or not, right? But you'll see it and you'll feel it in every part in Mongolia. And nomads, we are a very, very unique country. Still 30% of the population lives a real traditional nomadic lifestyle, right? They move around the year, they live in small yurts, right? They pack it up, they practice rotational grazing. So inherently sustainability comes with herders. So they live and they live in nature, they depend on nature. So it's so critical for us to protect it. But due to climate change, Mongolia is warming twice as faster as compared to global average. We have around 80% of the land that has been degraded in some form. And that creates a really difficult situation for these nomadic people that have lived, this traditional way for centuries, and now they're losing their livelihoods, they're losing their animals and climate-related events. When it's warmer, it's drought. When it's colder, it's extreme winter storms. And they're basically forced to leave that to move into the city. And I come from the city, I was born in the city, but we are affected by these impacts as well, because when you have these involuntary settlements right to the city, it creates urban issues, right? It creates unemployment issues, pollution, health, and all of these issues. So we are all stuck basically in this cycle. So we need to find a way to really break it and then ensure that as we move forward, we find a more sustainable way.
Nomindari, I think one of your messages was that we need to work together. You talked about a Mongolian phrase of the eternal blue sky.
Mm-hmm. Right, so that's for us Mongolians, the blue sky is really important. We respect the blue sky a lot, and it's something that a lot of Mongolians refers to, but what it really means is that although we all are different, right, in some ways, that we have different challenges, we have different views, we have different interests, right, cultural, political, and so on, at the end, we all exist under the same sky, and we basically exist under the same laws and principles of nature. So we need to learn to work, I think, in harmony, not only with nature, but also with each other, because at the end, we are just part of nature, right? So that's just a reminder, you know, from the wisdom from Mongolia, that going forward, let's celebrate more of collaboration and, you know, joint action.
Well, thank you for inspiring us with that talk today, and enjoy the rest of the forum.
Thank you.
Thank you.